Hello.
This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us at WZRD George Roumbanis. He is the president of AFSCME 3506 and an educator at the adult education educator at the City Colleges of Chicago. How are you today, George?
I'm delighted to be here and to join you and the radio station and your audience. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak about the important work we do in Chicago.
Yes, it is very, very important work. Tell us first about the classes that you teach and how adult education impacts the community.
So, despite being a union president, I have the pleasure to keep teaching. I teach 24 hours a week, which is the maximum hours that adult educators in the city colleges can teach. So I I usually teach students who have gone through the program and are about to transfer to credit classes or careers. A lot of them are professionals from overseas, whether it's Guatemala and Mexico or Ukraine and Nigeria. Um, but the last few semesters, I had the opportunity, and there has been a real gift for me to teach our migrants, folks from Venezuela and other countries. Many of them still have really temporary housing for a long time. A lot of them were sleeping on sidewalks. And a lot of them are really young, and most of them are truly motivated. And for a teacher, are a dream to come true because they're really diligent and motivated and committed uh, in moving forwards with their education and their careers.
Well, they really want a better life for themselves. Do you have any students from Afghanistan?
No, I don't. I teach at Arturo Velasquez Institute, and I teach at Wright College. And I think a lot of our students from that part of the world, from Pakistan, from Afghanistan, they tend to live in the north side part of Chicago, close to our Truman College, in the West Rogers Park, Edgewater area.
Yeah, some of them, I had some for coworkers as well, and they could speak English, but I was just wondering if there were some others that don't speak English as well. But I think there are. Anyway, when you you say that they're very motivated, and compared to the long time students at the CPS, these students they excel.
I think, um, you know, we have done our own studies, and because we are adult educators, we have no funding to do this kind of research. Is the kind of research that we, as a union of professionals, collects, and we have found some very interesting data. A lot of our students, not only they establish um, steady employment, but a lot of them move on to careers, and a lot of them do move on to college. But uh, what is really moving for me when it comes to our older adults, men and women who are in their 40s, and they're raising a family in Chicago, what we find that is very common is that the graduation rates, crime avoidance, employment rates for the children is double and triple the rates of the average student in a CPS high school. So the effect is not only on the student, but on their families. And for us is really moving. As a matter of fact, over the years, a number of high-ranked administrators in the city colleges of Chicago and the city of Chicago, period, their parents were students of the adult education program. So, that's one of the things that keep us teaching, despite the lack of security and a rather hostile administration to our profession and union.
Why would they be so hostile? Is it just on account of money they want to pay you less and just not give enough resources? Because if the teachers succeed and the students succeed, it should be good for them.
Yeah, there is no, I cannot read the mind of Juan Salgado, the Chancellor of Adult Educator, and what his plans are. Actually, he has quite often refused to meet or even talk with me about what the plans of the college education. And as a matter of fact, when the migrants first came to Chicago, started coming to Chicago, we had to force the administration to take them to classes. So I'll give you an example. One of the early housing options, again, which was forced on this administration, was to house migrants at Truman College gym. There's a rather large gym facility, which is next to our classes. So, we worked very hard to try to get these thousands of people to enroll them in classes. And it really took us months by the time we were able to access services. It seemed like the city colleges did not know what to do with them. But that was not only the city colleges. I think the city of Chicago in general wasn't prepared. And we are a profession that is always prepared to serve these communities. We were finally able to prevail to house them at Wright College and also at Daly College, and to offer in our department, our adult education program, to offer classes specific for them and their children at Wright College and at Daly. And just to put a plug for to a number of politicians who helped to get this done. They know who they are, and I'm sure they know how to advertise themselves. So, but a number of elder people became involved and helped to get this done. Now, overall, just to give you with broad strokes, our perspective on the city of Chicago, about 500,000 people, they need citizenship services. What does that mean? That means they need language, and they need to pass their various tests and complete the various paperwork associated with changing their status to one of a citizen, or even just start the process. I teach at AVI, which is part of Daly College. The area we serve is V that starts around Little Village and extends all the way to the southwest part of Chicago, from Midway to Marquette Park. This area includes probably one of the largest concentration of the immigrant population in Chicago. And I'm saddened to say, especially with the change of administration, when citizenship services are so much needed, that Daly College right now has one class with 6 students. It is, to be honest with you, is embarrassing. I can walk down the street I can leave AVI, by Cook County. If people don't know where Arturo Velasquez Institute is, on Western Avenue, in the back of the Cook County courts and jail, right? I can walk down the street to Little Village, and I have a feeling I can probably recruit 100 people within a couple of hours for citizenship services. So the city colleges are, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. This is a critical moment, and we need to step up. Just to give you another number, about 100,000 young adults um, don't have a job and they're not in school, and they have dropped um, out of their high school.
Are we talking
They
about the long time CPS students that are here, that are the native ones, not the immigrants?
yep, and they definitely need our GED and our career programs. Just to give you an idea, our program is federally, state, and city funded. The money is not allocated to a student, it's allocated to the program. And of course, then the program charges based on how many students you got. Last year, the CPS launched a program called Back to Our Future. According to their own information, they have 45,000 teens and young adults who are not in school or the workforce. They were spending about $18,000 per student, and the program is terminated. Here's the results. Out of these 45,000 people, they were only able to identify 1,000. And from these 1,000 students, only 60 earned a high school diploma, while 160 are enrolled in GED and they're making progress. So when I look at this, what does that tell me? It tells me that for this population, a lot of them are either parents or are in the role of parents. The traditional CPS interventions don't work. What works for them, we know what works for them is adult education. And the CPS's numbers, again, they speak the truth. They were able to re-engage 60 people for high school, while 160 chose to persuade their GED. And under the current administration, one of the biggest problems we have is the total collapse of the GED program. We used to have, if I was to use like one of our schools, like Kennedy King, we used to have hundreds of students enrolled for a GED program, just at Kennedy King. Last year, the city colleges were only able to graduate about 300 people. Is a lack of investment, primarily because they don't want to hire teachers. So when the current administration took over the city colleges around 2016, we had more than 500 adult educators. Now we have about 300 adult educators. And these are people who are strongly committed to what our program stands for, what the city colleges stand from. However, under these current working conditions, it's very difficult to recruit and retain instructors.
Is the administration forcing the teachers to take on more students per class?
We have some sort of an oral understanding about the number of students we have. The biggest program is that they open classes that they have no teachers for, and then they just close the classes. So just to give you an example from one of my students, it took him more than a year to be able to register. And he will tell me a lot of his friends, they will come, look for a class. They will tell them, oh, maybe come back next semester. We'll have something for you then. So the classes that are TBA to be for faculty to be announced every semester are multiple. I mean, I can share with you if you want me to. I think we have currently. Let me see really quick. I think just at Wright College, I think I see 20 classes to be announced. And then this is about a fair number of classes without teachers throughout the district. And then they're not able to fill the classes. Our schedules, because we have no seniority and not job security, they get moved around a lot. And, it's very frustrating if you don't know what you're going to teach from semester to semester, or they're trying to find a teacher a day or 2 days before the class starts. I was talking actually to one of our best advocates for adult education from Kennedy King, Professor Doris Pledger. She has been working there for decades. And in the last semester, she found what classes she was teaching 2 days before the beginning of the semester. The program is being run only with a part-time workforce. And, there are two things to consider. Number one, the workforce is not really part-time because during the year we teach more hours or the equal numbers of hours as a CPS teacher does. So it's kind of difficult for us to think ourselves as part-timers. We work in about 10 hours more per week teaching than a full-time credit professor. They're full-time, we're part-time. But the other aspect is
So the 10 hours is the preparation and all that, or what is the 10
no,
hours
just
testing time?
straight instruction. I'm sorry for cutting you off. So we teach about 10 hours more per week, straight instruction, more than full-time faculty at the city colleges. But we are part-time. So it's a bizarre system that disrespects our profession and disrespects our communities and our students.
What does the administration stand to gain by having a system set up like that?
Control and money, right? We have a very limited access to any benefits. So to give you an example, currently, well, maybe I shouldn't go into, because we are negotiating for a year and a half. Which basically, we meet with the administration once every week or a couple of weeks. They go have pizza. They tell us no, and we have to leave. That's what the negotiations has been like. They're not interested to talk about any of these issues we are talking about. But just to give you an example, for an HMO right now, for one of our teachers to get access to an HMO is about $700 for one person, right? Per month. So the best they can do is to get a union a subsidy over a couple $100. So you're talking about paying $500-600 per month for health insurance. So this is rather expensive. People cannot afford it. So a lot of our teachers go without health insurance or using Obamacare. And this is one of the few benefits we have. Is really troublesome. And what I want the people of Chicago who are listening is how committed our teachers are. The majority of us have worked here for decades. Is work of we're passionate about it. We love our students, and the other thing that keep us going and what drives us is the amazing results we have and how much our students appreciate us. They let us know, and what they tell us is how much difference does it make in their lives.
When I was at Wright College, there were some tenured teachers that were telling me that even though they have their classes, but then they're also required to work additional work like in administration, this and that. They pile more work on them if over their teaching duties. So that's probably how yeah, they're already full-time, I guess. I don't know how many hours they're teaching, but then they have all the other tasks that their responsibilities. So it looks like
Yeah, so I hear you. So this is actually one of the concerns we have as a profession. I mean, some of the responsibilities, when handled by the instructors, like testing, right? One of the reasons we're failing to recruit teachers and students is because the testing system at the city colleges has just collapsed. So, in order to save money, they don't want us to test our own students. They hire testing specialists. Their qualifications are a high school diploma or GED, and they really don't invest in them with a lot of training. They just throw them in a room with students and a few computers. Um, as a result, the testing results are interpreted by office personnel. The testing results are produced by a computer. There is no input by our profession. So we just show up in the class, and unlike a professor who, has a good sense of who's going to be in the class, right? We have very little control, and we have very little input of how classes are allocated and who is in our classes. So we understand, by the way, that the full-time instructors have additional duties. We wouldn't object to the additional duties, of course, if that was to result in full-time positions. And what really is a challenge for us to contribute as professionals when we don't have time to do any research. Like I said, we've done and we will continue doing studies, observing and correlating data. One of the correlations we have discovered is that when adult education enrollment goes up, crime rates go down in our communities. And even for the north side and the northwest side of Chicago, around Wright College, these are solid middle class neighborhoods. So crime rates there tend to be lower. But even there, what we found out is that when adult education goes up, violent crimes involving guns, also pretty much collapse. So it seems to me that investing for the city of Chicago and the city colleges in adult education would be one of the ways to address what a lot of folks say is a major problem right now in Chicago. So we don't see any interest from the city colleges regarding that. We used to offer services to folks who were either incarcerated or were in halfway housing, having been released. Nothing zero offerings to this population that they very much deserve and need these classes.
when did these services end? When did these offerings end?
We haven't had them since at least 2016. I think our last specialist we had, while this is not part of our, professional designation, just by practice, we have folks who specialize and concentrate. So some folks specialize in offering GED classes. Some other folks offer ESL classes. Some other folks offer digital literacy. So our last specialist in working with incarcerated people, she resigned, I think, in 2019 or 2020. And, we keep alerting them. We're losing the skills to serve different populations, but we find total indifference from the administration.
Well, there's always entrenched racism because there's redlining, and then there's segregation, and all that keeps the marginalized people apart from parts of society. This seems to be part of that because these are services that would help them and has proven to help, but then now they're being discarded. Was it because of the pandemic that they stopped, or it's just because that last teacher resigned and then they just stopped hiring as soon at some point?
So, I'm not going to judge the administration or any administration. They do have to be bean counters, but they cannot be just bean counters. So just to give you an example, a few years back, they tried to rejuvenate a relationship, and maybe I'm speaking, I think it was the Cook County Jail. So one of our coordinators from Kennedy King College went with the administration to the institution. So one of the challenges we face for our teachers and our coordinators, they're hourly workers. So we told them, and this is one of the things we're negotiating right now, to enter and to depart an institution as such. You don't walk in just, like you walk into a school. It takes processing time. So one of the things we told them is like, look, these are hourly people. You cannot simply say you're teaching 9 to 12. You have to pay them for the time that it takes them to enter the building. And it can be, I don't know, half an hour sometimes, at least in the beginning. And then there is time for them to depart the building. They're leaving a jail. And this is one of the things that we were told that stopped the administration from offering such class. They were not interested in dealing with these complexities or the expense associated. But I want I want to address the issue that you brought up, right? Of racism and economic impact. So 16% of residents of Chicago 5 years and older don't have a high school credential, right? This highlights a significant need for the adult education program. But among this group, 50%, 54% identify as Hispanic Latino and 29% as Black. So this emphasizes racial and ethnic disparities in access to foundational education. A related issue is the low literacy and numeracy level among adult Chicagoans comparing to Illinois overall, which compounds the barriers to economic mobility. So 62% of adults without a high school credential live below 200% of the federal poverty level, illustrating the economic hardship tied to educational attainment. And from this population, only 38% is employed. I mean, it's obvious to me that you offer trainings that we have, you connect them to adult education, you connect them to our fabulous and underused credential programs in culinary arts, in manufacturing. You know, Daly College has one of the most advanced manufacturing centers in the nation, and it's primarily empty. So, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not sure what this administration is thinking. What I know is that they're not thinking of us, and they're not thinking of our students. Um, I want to bring up another group. 27% of adult Chicagoans are foreign born. Now, this is a very diverse group that includes people who don't have a high school diploma and don't speak English, to another big subgroup that has advanced degrees. So one of my, just to give you an example, one of my favorite students is a brilliant woman, a lawyer from Mexico, qualified to bring cases in front of the Supreme Court of Mexico. She's working in a professional job. It's obvious that they're using her and abusing her tremendous skills. She makes enough money, I guess, to go by. But this is a person that Mexico lost and we gained. And, we need to be using these talented people, right? Again, to show you the disconnect of the city colleges. One of the biggest group of professionals that we have coming to Chicago, especially from Latin America and Ukraine, is people who have degrees in accounting. Now, Harold Washington offers a fantastic program that helps you to get your license as a certified public accountant. A certification of public accounting would move you to the middle class. Instead, in my class, I have folks with accounting degrees who are working as cleaners, as babysitters, and is an honest day's work, right? But I have the feeling that they, have a different impact in our city if they were able to regain their credentials. And the same thing for the percent that they don't have their high school diplomas. Just learning English is life-changing, right? So when I listen to the debate in Chicago, the supposed debate, right, about charter schools, and charter, the folks who advocate for the privatization of public education, they keep bringing up choice. Well, when you look at the population, often in really poor, underserved communities with charter schools, the parents have no choice. The parents don't have an education quite often. The parents are not able to judge what kind of education their children receive. And if they don't speak English, how are they supposed to have a choice? It's really upsetting how folks are being manipulated. And I think that if adult students born outside of the United States had access to ESL, not only they can help their kids with homework, but they can interact with teachers, keep teachers accountable. Now, a lot of our adult students, they find themselves, to a great extent, imprisoned at home with really dysfunctional relationships with their children, because the children have to act as translators. The children are taking on responsibilities that shouldn't be the responsibilities of children. And that really creates pressures. It's difficult to be guided by an adult who cannot help you to negotiate life in school, they have these challenges.
When you spoke about those the funding for classes, those classes at Daly College and all the facilities that are not being used, if they're going to build it, is it just to give contracts to maybe some people that have access instead of actually using those classrooms to help the students? And are you able to use the Freedom of Information Act to discover where the funding goes to that should be allocated to teachers as well?
So thus far, because we don't know what is going to happen when the new administration comes in, funding from the federal government and the state government, and also from the homeowners and taxpayers in Chicago. So if you're a homeowner in Chicago, you get a bill, and you'll see it says City Colleges of Chicago. So while our students are being treated as second-class citizens, so for instance, we have digital literacy classes, and quite often we have, when the credit faculty thinks that the computers are too old or they're not functioning very well, they let our students use them, right? But when our students pay, when the city colleges charges taxes to the people of Chicago, they charge the same tax for credit students and for adult education students, but they choose to spend the money in a discriminatory way. So, can we find where the money goes? Well, the money goes to support the institution. Um, I haven't noticed, and I hope this is not the case, of the money leaving the institution to be spent to outside uses. The biggest problem we have noticed is that the funds are not allocated appropriately. They usually go to build up the bureaucracy. Just to give you an example of what I mean by that. So when I first started working close to 25 years ago at the city colleges as an instructor at Daly College, we had one dean, one associate dean, and one manager, right? Now I have a senior dean. I'm not sure. I think she makes about $130,000 a year. I have an associate dean, and I have two managers. Um, the folks who work downtown, the numbers keep increasing. Like the hires in the district for adult education. I want to be clear about that. For adult education, with salaries well over six figures, keep increasing, and we don't see what the contribution is uh, to our communities and our students. I presume they're doing paperwork, um, but really we don't know what they do, and it's difficult to measure the impact in providing services to our students.
So
By the way, all these positions are full-time.
so these people that are receiving six-figure salaries, they're not teachers, they're in the administration.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When I was at Northeastern Illinois University, I served as a student trustee. I also heard that from faculty that it's too administration heavy. It seems as if the city colleges is the same way.
I think that probably, I mean, I don't know. I have the feeling that bureaucracy grows no matter what you do, but I have seen very few places that has so many administrative positions. It is troublesome. Definitely, I can tell you this. Um, we have always been working full-time hours under part-time status, but definitely the focus of the program has moved away from the instruction to the district and to administrators. it's really sad. We had the graduation for our GD adult high school students, and they paraded all the administrators. They did not even allow or arrange for seating for the teachers. So the teachers had to go find their seats on their own among parents and guests. That was something that our teachers keep bringing to my attention. We're invisible to them, you know.
Has it
So
has it always been this way, or was it better before Chancellor Salgado took office?
I think that when it comes to faculty participation in decision making, that is a drastic change. We used to participate widely. So just to give you an example, I used to be the head of the committee for professional development for daily college, credit faculty and non-credit faculty. Um, Now it is difficult to find any participation of adult education faculty um, in the life of any of our colleges. I do want to say that, just to be fair, that President Jackson, Sean Jackson, at Truman College, he has a dream called, One Truman, and he's making some efforts, which I applaud. But those themselves are minimal, but there's progress. Like at my own college, at Daly College, I had to deal with a humiliating experience of asking the president and the super dean. They just announced a new plan of moving forward. I just ask a simple question. Um, how was adult education faculty involved? How were art students involved? And I would have to send like 3, 4 emails back and forth where they using political language to refuse to answer my questions. And finally, what we got is like, we'll send you a questionnaire to answer. I haven't looked at the numbers recently at Daly College, but I think there are a lot more adult education students than credit students. So you have an institution like Daly College, where the majority of the services are adult education, and our faculty is not involved in the future of the college. And, this is usually the case. They're treating us like outsiders, and all decisions, despite there's a principle of shared governance in adult education. I mean, I'm sorry, in higher education, zero. Actually, we have made repeated proposals to have us involved in shared governance. They tell us, very explicitly, we're not interested. We don't want to hear what you think. We don't think of you as professionals who can contribute to the future of the colleges. They're pretty explicit.
When there were professional development days in the past at the Wright College and at the Northeastern, it seemed as if I was thinking that it involved everybody. But so you're saying that when there are professional development days, adult education teachers are not invited, are not included?
So of course we're included to take professional development, and we have been putting pressure for quite a while to allow us to participate in all professional development. This is one of the big changes we're able to achieve this year. Um, the difference is who plans the professional development, right? So another victory we got in the last couple of years is to at least have our own people offer professional development, and they're doing us the favor for us to propose. But there is a very big difference between proposing afterwards and determining what the needs are and focusing the needs of the profession, right? I mean, imagine if you visited a hospital where the local bureaucrat determined what the professional needs of the doctors or the nurses were, right? So we have no voice on the table. We have no voice when they hire people. We have no upward mobility whatsoever. And while in the past there was a tradition, a long-term established tradition that at least our own administrators moved through the faculty. Now I find myself where not a single, we have three super deans who run adult education, and not a single one of them were adult educators in the City College of Chicago. One of them was an adult educator once in a different system. So can you imagine, you have people who have no idea about what the profession entails, never been in our classes. The associate vice chancellor has no idea, never been involved in adult education. They drafted him from CPS. In general, the whole administration, they just pushing paper around without even asking our feedback.
Do you know if the other non-adult education teachers are they asked for input about professional development? I know that you don't have a seat at the table, the adult education teachers, but what about the other ones?
You mean the credit side?
Yes.
Of course, yes. It is actually the credit side has a faculty council. They have committees on an ongoing basis that review and approve a number of things like the curriculum, the schedules, the so they're engaged. Actually, part of the accreditation of the city colleges counts on such processes. However, they deny our faculty for being part of these processes. And, I'm going to tell you something. For many of us who have been around for decades, we made a life commitment to this. But our faculty is getting older and is retiring. And it's difficult for me to recommend, or it's difficult for me to believe that any of the hundreds of new teachers that they're hiring will be willing to stick around, develop the skills, and being able to contribute. I mean, it's one thing to contribute, and it's another thing to have the experience to contribute. We're losing the know-how, and we're losing the faculty that is able to demonstrate loyalty to the program and our students. But it seems the administration is very happy about that. It seems to me that they've been denying us a contract for a year and a half, and every single aspect that we're stuck on has to do with that. Their goal is to turn this into a gig. That's what they want. They want people to treat this like dog walking or
Independent contractors, right? They want the
yeah, that's what they want. They want somebody, but I mean, they don't even want a high quality independent contractor. It's just because independent contractors who are highly skilled can be quite productive. One of students of mine establishes internet networks. That's not what they're looking for. They're not looking to pay us this kind of monies. And they, like I said, it's more along the line of a waitressing job, a dog walking job, somebody who can they can mark that has the minimum qualifications and put them in the classroom. And we're resisting. We're resisting through our proposals, looking for seniority. We are the only group of professionals in the city college that has no seniority. We have no job safety whatsoever. And we have a whole group, a whole subset of teachers who have been hired in the last 10 years or so that don't have access to tiers. You probably know as a trustee that, as you build seniority as an instructor, you have access to promotions based on how many years you serve. So they deny, more than 50, maybe around 50% of our teachers have no access to tiers. So right now, somebody who was hired yesterday, will be getting the same pay of rate as somebody who has been teaching for 10 years, which is totally unprofessional. You need to reward people for their loyalty and the expertise that they build.
Earlier, you mentioned the migrants. They were living in the colleges, and then they also went to the classes. That was very convenient for them, and it should have helped them a lot. Where was the money coming from to pay for those classes for the migrants?
So a lot of this money was coming from adult education funding, from continuing education funding. Um, and I know monies was coming to take care of for services for migrants from the city. I'm not sure exactly how it was allocated, but I know the instructional money was coming from the adult education fund.
Mm. And where does the adult education fund money come from?
It comes from the federal government primarily, and then is allocated to the state government, and monies are also allocated from the state government, and then monies are collected from the citizens of Chicago. I'm not sure. I know that there are also a lot of additional of grant money that comes from IDHS, from employment. So, the city colleges bureaucrats are fantastic in hiding the allocation of money. I want you to know this has been one of the biggest struggles. We ask them straightforward question, and they tell us, "Go look at the budget." So they asking us to go examine the budget of. I think the latest budget was about 700, $600 million. So go dig through $700 million and find out what's coming in for adult education.
Are you able to do a Freedom of Information Act request to look deeper and force them to give you what you need to look at?
Yeah, we try. We try. Again, when you operate through freedom of information, they can be very resistant in what they're giving you. But we should be doing more than that. As a union, just to be clear about that, we have access to what is called information requests, but then every time we step outside to information that relates directly to our faculty, they say, well, you don't have access to that. They've been very bad, not giving us the information, manipulating the information, telling us that this is too onerous to answer. So, like I said, when it comes to, we've been negotiating for about a year and a half. Their contribution is to come, go for pizza, tell us they don't want to talk to us about anything.
When you do those FOIA requests, do they want to charge you for time and labor, and do they say that they've given you results, but then actually there's nothing in that result? Has that ever happened?
So they cannot charge us for any information request. It's just the data is manipulative, or they say, well, we don't have to give you that, or we think, or they will give me an answer that is not specific enough. Even simple questions like, how do you calculate that? Can you please provide the formula becomes too difficult to get. So what they do is we're a fairly small union in comparison of some of the other ones. So they're using, I mean, um, they hire outside consultants and law firms, and their job is to spend of tens of thousands of dollars on these folks. And their job is to basically delay, obscure, and deny.
Are you able to appeal? And when they don't give you information, are you able to appeal? And if you do, what happens with those appeals?
So at this point, we're exploring filing unfair labor practices, charges against them. I want you to know we are trying to be as productive as possible. And we don't want to be litigious. After all, this is very expensive for our union. But that's not even the point. The problems we're trying to solve are to the benefit of our students and the people of Chicago, and actually of the administration. A lot of our proposals are trying to improve the program. They're trying to make sure we don't turn our students away. We're trying very hard to provide the best possible education. I had to go to the city council to get books for our students. When Juan Salgado took over the city colleges, we used to spend about $1 million per year. I'll be more than happy to send you the details from an information request. We used to spend about $1 million per year for supplies and books. And then since he became the chancellor, these numbers diminished down to 20, 30, 40, $50,000 per year. Like I said, I had to go to the city council during a hearing for the city colleges for Juan Salgado to promise me to get books. And we finally got books, but that's what it takes. Is very difficult to get the monies that are allocated by the people of Chicago and the United States government to go to our students and teachers. I think that if we were to able to achieve um, job safety, seniority, and a steady schedule. I mean, this has been the other big challenge. In 2019, we signed a new contract, and that pretty much within a few days, they gave us, 3-something% raise and some other benefits, and they cut the instructional hours by about a third. So now they're planning to cut the summer program from 12 weeks to 8 weeks. And they won't even negotiate with us. They tell us how long the instruction periods are in the summertime is their business, which is absurd. How can I possibly teach in 8 weeks what I would have taught in 12 weeks, right?
So what happened was that they raised the pay, but then cut the hours, and then so on the whole, were you able to gain anything, or was it about the same at the end, or did you even get less?
Oh no, in reality, you get less because what happens is, a lot of our so look at my work schedule, right? I have to work in the morning, then I have to drive for an hour and a half to Wright College at 5:30 to teach another class. So a lot of my colleagues who are dedicated to this job, they have to spend the whole day. So because they changed the schedules are not offering the opportunity to teach either morning or night anymore. So you have to combine mornings and nights. And what do you do? What I'm going to do? I mean, today I have the pleasure and the opportunity to speak with you, but every other day, what would I do between 12 and 5:30, right? I need an hour and a half to drive. And then what? I cannot work. I cannot be productive. In reality, I'm being kept as a prisoner, working every day. I mean, 4 days a week, from 9 o'clock in the morning to 12, then 2 days a week I have to work at night, 5:30 to 9:30. These are abhorrent working conditions. They don't benefit our students, and they don't benefit our teachers, and they don't benefit the institution.
When you said that they cut the 500 teachers to 300,
Yeah.
what about the number of students? When you had the 500 teachers at that point and versus now, so what was do you have those figures at hand? How many students then versus?
I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'll be more than happy to send them to you. The program collapsed. So what happened is, especially with the 96 hours, the program collapsed, and at the same time, the pandemic happened. So the pandemic has been a great excuse for many mismanaged institutions, right? So is the pandemic. The collapse was happening anyways. Now it has been a big uptick of enrollment because of primarily of migrants. But when you look at the uptick for digital literacy, when you look at classes, GED adult high school, these numbers are pathetic in comparison to what they used to be. You know, I'm really glad, and the administration should be proud. You know, after we put pressure on them, they did start serving the migrant and the immigrant community a lot more effectively, but they have really abandoned the native community. You know, if you were born here, if you went to high school here, they really have nothing for you. They're not focused on serving these communities. It is all about expanding services to the migrant community and the immigrant communities, which I said is great, but itself it causes tensions with the students.
So, in other words, adult learners that were born here, if they didn't get enough education in CPS, and now they want to become an adult learner, they're not placed equitably. The migrants come first before they are placed in classes, and if there is room in the classes, is that the situation?
I want to be careful about how we phrase this, and
Mm-hmm.
here's how I'm going to phrase it. Having been an immigrant myself,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, you're a lot more obedient because you're scared. You don't know what's going to happen. You're trying to feed yourself. As an immigrant myself, I had, you know, I experienced homelessness. I didn't speak English. I was trying to get education. I was trying to find a job, and you know, you think that a favor is being done to you, which is, I wouldn't call it a favor, it's a service that we need to provide. We need to provide the services. But you know, our students who were born here or who came here and they went to high school, you know, they're a lot more demanding, and also they have different challenges, right? And is they're more expensive to serve. Um, and you know, I think that's one of the issues. Whether you're dealing with an older population, um, you know, so when I look at the numbers, more than a third of Chicago residents ages 50 and older, right, um, are working full time. The rest of them, they're not working full time. Is it because they have a lot of money and they can relax at home? I have serious doubts. I think they just don't have the skills to be able to be appreciated by the job market, right? So there are a lot of complications when it comes to serve this population, and I think we're not making the effort or willing to spend the money. Then when you're talking about folks under 25, the biggest challenge for them is that either their parents or they're acting as parents. So again, a very different population to serve. And the city colleges are going down the easy path.
What about you? When you were you ever an adult learner? How did you learn
Sure.
your English? Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm still working on my English, but yeah, I went to Truman. I took the Belmont bus all the way from the west side of the northwest side of Chicago, and I went to Truman College, and I was able to benefit of being in a large room with people from all over the world. And half the time I didn't know what was going on. But I was able to move forwards and acquire an undergraduate education and then multiple graduate degrees. Um, and I would have never been able to achieve that without the assistance of the adult education program in Truman College. A lot of our teachers have gone down a similar path. The way we are very different from other higher education faculties that we're very representative of the people of the communities we serve, and we live in the communities we serve.
Were you recommended to go to Truman? Did you hear about it yourself? How did that door
Everybody
open?
was going to Truman. Actually, it's really funny you mentioned that. I was staying with an uncle of mine, and he was a lot closer to Wright College. I think Wright College was only 15 minutes away, but all my friends says, we go to Truman. So I took the bus and I went to Truman.
Mhm. Uh, what about the adjunct faculty? I know a lot of adjunct faculty. It seems as if they're going through similar problems as the adult education faculty because they're overworked. They don't get enough pay. They don't have job security, and they're struggling. It kind of sounds very similar. And do they have a union? Are you do you is your is 3506 able to work with them?
So they have their own union, and I'll be more than happy to let my brothers and sisters. I can put you in touch with them. Indeed, they're dealing with similar challenges, um, and when it comes to adjunct faculty, here's what is really important, and I want everybody to know. Having been adjunct faculty myself, by the way, here's what is really important for folks to know. There is minimal, if any, difference in the performance of students who take classes by adjunct faculty and full-time faculty. So I know a number of colleagues who are adjuncts at Northwestern University, and they're also adjuncts at the city colleges. They're doing a fantastic job. And well, they're also treated badly. Um, the big difference is that adjunct faculty has pathways to full-time work. We don't. We have no pathways to full-time work, and this is very disheartening. Um, the other thing that I find very interesting about the struggles of the adjunct faculty is they try to take the administration is trying to take a page from the way they treat us. They want to have them teach more hours than they're teaching. They want actually to teach them as many, if not more hours than full-time faculty. So this way, again, creating another unit of full-time workers who are paid and treated as part-timers. It seems like is a very specific strategy by the city colleges of turning instructors into gig workers, treat them very badly without job security, without benefits, without options. At the same time, building up and expanding a bureaucracy that is treated fabulously. I think just their lawyers. I think since Juan Salgado became the chancellor, I think the money spent on lawyers has doubled. I never seen so many lawyers before um, in the city colleges.
Well, he must need them then.
Well, that's a good question, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Why are you lowering up? Give us an answer, Chancellor. Why are you lowering up?
And at the four-year universities, it seems as if adjuncts have difficulties over there too. And there are adult education instructors at the four-year universities. Do you interact with them? What are their situations like apart from city colleges? Do you have any idea?
So I want to differentiate. There are two different types of adult education, right? So there is university education for adults, which is classes usually at night for people who are older than 25, right? So these folks do not meet the criteria of, you know, incoming freshmen. They're not fresh out of high school. They haven't been out of high school for a year or two. So when it comes to the city colleges, the absolute majority of all credit students are adults. I think the mean age for a student on the credit side, I think is like 30, 31, something like that. Now, at a place like DePaul, they have a school for adult learning. These are really full-time and adjunct professors who teach the same classes that they will teach to freshmen or seniors. Um, and this is usually around degree completion. Um, Adult education is primarily offered by ICCB, the Illinois Community College Board. So this is community colleges, Acton, Triton College. These are the colleges, College of DuPage. So the City College of Chicago are the biggest adult education program in the state. The latest data I saw is that about a third of all adult education services in the state of Illinois are offered by the city colleges of Chicago. So yeah, actually, what a lot of our members do, they may be teaching in the morning for the city colleges, and then the evening for Acton or Triton. 24 hours of pay are not enough to pay your bills. Average pay for our members is about 40 something thousand dollars a year. You understand, with $40,000 a year, you cannot exactly pay your bills. You may be able to pay rent and pay food and transportation. That's about it. I'm not sure you can even afford to buy health insurance. So they have the same challenges. We do see at some of the community colleges, they have started integrating the adult education faculty, trying to create a continuum of services, which makes a lot of sense. Um, to give you an example, as it would apply to any community college, but specifically to the City College of Chicago. When you go on the credit side, one of the significant problems that the institution faces is poorly prepared students. So they may have a high school diploma, but they may not have a good handle of the language. So just to give you an example, a good friend of mine, she's the co-chair of life science at Malcolm X College. It's an outstanding program preparing people for health science related professions, right? She teaches her class, and quite often she dismisses the class and asks, she's fluent in Spanish, she's an immigrant like myself, and then she asks the Spanish speaking students who do have a high school diploma from CPS to stay back behind, and she reteaches um, the class in Spanish. Um, Now, I guess the solution that some of the colleges, including the city colleges, want to offer is like, well, we can enroll you in academic ESL. But when you enroll the students in academic ESL, then what do is you charge them tuition, and then they have no monies to continue their education. Their FAFSA and their scholarships are spent in pre-credit classes. The same thing for our students who are, were born here or raised here. They speak English very well, but especially when it comes to math preparation, they're very poorly prepared, and then they place them in developmental classes. And we have students who spend 2 years in developmental classes, very little endurance to continue, and then your FAFSA money is gone. And now they tell you, well, you're ready to start college, but you have to pay from your pocket. So all colleges could be doing a lot better, especially the city colleges could be doing a lot better. They could be placing the students in adult education classes that they're 100% free. And I think I forgot to say that our classes are funded by the government, 100% free. You don't have to pay a penny, or at least like one of about the communication we have with full-time faculty and adjunct faculty. One of the biggest challenges they have in their classrooms is that the students come with really poor digital literacy. So they can use their phone like all of us do, right? Ask Siri or ask whatever is the latest AI. But to use the technology that is needed to negotiate successfully college education these days, they just don't have the skills. And the classes are not in place. Or even if they were to be placed there, they're too expensive. We have outstanding digital literacy instructors, and these are free classes. The credit students can come enroll. It's a very low risk environment. They can come learn, and they can go take the high risk classes on the credit side. We have brought this to the attention of the administration. Nobody's listening. We don't make enough money to be heard, right?
The digital literacy students, what are their average ages?
So the majority of our students who are involved in digital literacy, they're older adults. A lot of them, um, are old enough that they need to use computers in everyday life to do their banking, to do their healthcare, but have zero skill. A lot of them are retirees. But we do have a fair number of ESL students who come from societies that they were not exposed or had no access to this technology, and they're learning right now. To give a plug to my friends at Truman, And at Daily, we have some really outstanding professors of digital literacy, and they have come to specialize in working with folks who, for people with disabilities, with older adults. And, they tell me that they feel this is one of the most important things they have ever done in their lives. They're very happy and very proud. And, I think giving them seniority, uh, job security, and a fair pay is something they deserve. They have earned it.
What about the earlier when you said that they have to hire outside services for testing? Is that to just administrate the tests, administer the tests like proctoring and then grading the tests? Who comes up with the tests? Is the instructors that taught the classes? Don't they have any input on writing the test?
So, the testing specialists are minimally paid workers for the city colleges. Their job is to be proctors, but they have no training how to, for instance, deal with people whose English is not the first language. Also, this is a position that was allocated quite often to workers, who are college students themselves, and they have very little experience how to interact professionally with older adults. Um, and quite often, they're being asked to do tasks that they have no training for it.
So some
We're,
of these are student employees.
yeah, yes, yes, yes. Because after all, you know, who is willing to come in for a couple hours a day to make $20, right? So not all of them. I think a lot of them are students. So we used to have our own tests. The faculty had created um, tests for different levels. We use those for years. Unfortunately, what they do now is they use state created testing, which is very inaccurate. And the testing is for totally different purposes. So they misuse the test. Um, and no, the faculty has zero impact on what the test the students take is, who takes the test, when they take the test. It's just done very unprofessionally and with little respect for the students or the faculty.
So are the
That's
students
why you go to a class and you find people who have very different levels of abilities. So the test is a multiple choice test, right? So if you're learning English, how does this test your verbal understanding? So somebody can answer a multiple quiz, right? Doesn't mean they speak or understand English. Why put them in level four? Maybe they need to be in level one. So this is some of the things that are quite problematic.
so it's very hard for the students to pass these tests. It's not relevant to what they're learning.
A lot of times that you're right, the test is not relevant, and what happens is students can only repeat a class 4 times. So we do have a number of students who are really kicked out of the program. There is very little regard, if any, for students with special education needs, whether they come from the high school or they come from another country. So imagine to be characterized as a special education student to receive services. They ask you from the paperwork from your high school, right? So you're 40 years old and you're from Guatemala, you're supposed to go track the special ed paperwork. It's an absurd system. We keep putting pressure on them, making incremental changes, towards a better environment for our students. But ultimately, unless our faculty have a stable environment, at a certain point, we could become exhausted. And the feeling I get as the president of this union, that this is the goal of the administration. I think this is the goal of the 1.5 years of negotiations, for us to be exhausted, to give up, to stop fighting for our students and our communities and our rights. But we will not. They're wrong. They need to come to the negotiation table and make a fair contract with us and our students.
How long have you been president of the union?
I think about 8 years.
Mm.
I was going to do it for a year.
But what do you see ahead for 3506 and the negotiations? And if you did say that you might appeal to unfair labor practices, right?
Yeah, so look, at this point, a number of things are happening. So 42 out of the 50 elder people of the city council have written to the mayor and the chancellor saying that, our communities, our students, and our teachers deserve seniority and job stability. So far, the administration has chosen to ignore the overwhelming political will of the representatives of the people of Chicago. We're very disappointed. So, slowly but surely, we are pushed to have no choice but um, to interrupt services and interrupt the funding of the city colleges to be heard. If we don't want that, they have pushed us to a brink a number of times. Right now, the union is conducting a strike assessment, and thus far, the overwhelming number of the faculty, they just had enough. They says, if they're not going to deal with us fairly, maybe we should go on strike.
What
The next
about
step,
what about
yeah,
the
go ahead.
U.S. What about the U.S. Department of Labor? Is there anything that they could help you with?
So, yeah, thank you for bringing this up. Right now, we are meeting with the administration. We have 2 meetings already with a federal mediator, trying to find a common ground. It has been I spent 2 days, one for 6 hours, one for 5 hours. Um, the mediator was not able to bring us even to the same room. There's nothing. They don't want to hear anything. I think ultimately the city colleges believe that we're just going to give up, and we're not going to give up. Um, you know,
If our listeners want to learn more about AFSCME 3506 and about your work, where should they go?
well, this should go to well, actually, the best thing is to send their information to afsme3506@gmail.com and inquire. That would be the best way to do it. We do have presence on Facebook. We have presence on social media. We don't have the resources right now to have a big social media campaign. Our campaigns have been face to face in front of City Hall, in front of the city colleges. But please reach out to me at AFSCME, AFSCME 3506@gmail.com. And we'll be more than happy to send you material and to update you in our struggles.
Thank you so much, George Roumbanis, President of AFSCME 3506.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your work.
Thank you. Thank you.